In last session, we discussed about the basics of SSIS and data warehousing, where these SSIS fits, and couple of control flow tasks like ActiveX, script task, and script task. Today, we are gonna see couple of other control flow tasks. Let's start with analysis service execute DDL task. So this is very useful one whenever you want to execute any data definition language queries of analysis services, like creating a SSIS cube database, or altering it, dropping it, and if you want to do any DDL statement, if you want to execute any DDL statements, then this is the best task to go with. Now let's get some DDL queries. For that, I have to connect to analysis services. Let me do that first, and connect to analysis services. Here, let me take a DDL statement of a query. That means create cube statement of a query. We can use the same in analysis service execute DDL task and see whether it is working fine or not. So let's say I'll go with practice cube, and script database as create to new window. That means I'm taking the script which is required to create a new database with the same settings, like, or same definition like the cube what we have in the database, that is practice cube. Now if I execute the same, it will throw error saying that already the cube exists, right? This practice cube is already exists. So what I can do is I can change it to some 3 and an ID and name to 3, and if I execute the same, now a cube is created with the same definition as practice cube with new name. When I refresh it, when I refresh the databases, you can see the new cube is created. So this is a DDL statement. Now let me change it to 4 and copy the same, and let me use it in analysis service execute DDL task. So first let me go to the properties and give a proper name. Create new practice cube. Name it like this. And here, this is the page where you have to specify the properties that are required for creating or executing a DDL statement. The first and foremost property is connection string. So select the new connection and go here and selecting the local host, that is the server name, and Windows authentication, and let me check whether the connection is succeeded. So if you see the provider here, the provider is OLEDB provider for analysis services 10.0. That means I'm gonna connect to analysis service databases, and in this one I can execute any DDL statements. So here the next option is how you are gonna provide the DDL statement, whether it's a direct input or a file connection or a variable. Let's say a couple of things. First, let's say with direct input. Direct input is nothing but you are gonna type the full query here. So this is called direct input. You are directly providing the input. And let me click on OK and execute the same. Now it is executing and it is successful. Let's see whether it is created or not. So I'm going to the same server, and if I click on refresh, you can see a new cube is created. So this is the way you can execute a DDL statement of analysis services. This is very useful whenever you want to take the backups or whenever you want to create a new cube and process it with some new definition than the existing one. You can alter the databases of analysis services. Now, let's see one more option, that is providing input through a file. I'm taking a new notepad. I'm copying the same create statement, and I'm renaming it to file. Why? Because I'm going to execute it again. I should not have the same database. I should not provide the same database name which is already present. So I'm naming the file as cube definition, and I'm storing in the desktop. Now let's see how to provide the DDL statement from a file. So now you have to select file connection instead of direct input. Whenever you select the file connection, you can see the DDL statement, the property is changed to source. Now you have to provide a new connection pointing to the existing file where the query is present. So browse it, and here we have in desktop with the name cube definition. Let me search for the same. This is the file, and I selected the file. So whenever I execute the package, it will connect to this analysis service database first, and then it will connect to the cube definition text file. It will get the query and it will execute in the same connection where we made, same server to which we have made the connection using analysis service provider. Now I've given file and I'm executing it. Now it is reading the data from the file and executing it in these analysis services. If I refresh it, you can see the cube file is created. Okay. Now the cube is created, and if I click on new query, it won't give anything. Why? Because it is just created. It is not processed. Okay. Now let's see how to process the same. This is about analysis service execute DDL task. You can define any alter statements or definition. Create statements, drop statements, kind of in analysis services. Let me disable it for some time. We'll enable it back when we're going to use it again. Now there is one more task, that is analysis service processing task. You can see this is the full name, analysis service processing task, and for this task is useful to process the cube objects or analysis service databases. You can process single dimension, you can process multiple dimensions, you can process a single measure group or multiple measure groups, or you can process the complete solution, or you can process complete cube. Let's see, process complete solution is the name I'm giving. Better to say complete cube solution. And now in processing options, you can see a wizard very similar, very close to the one you see whenever you are processing the cube using SSIS BIDS, Business Intelligence Development Studio. The only extra part you are seeing here is connection string. Apart from that, the processing configuration, this batch setting summary, all remain same even in analysis service processing. Now, this local host, this is connected to the server, but the database is not selected. This was set when I was defining analysis service execute DDL task. It is an execution part, that is creating a new cube, so it was not pointing to any particular database in analysis services. You can see here, if I edit this is not connected to any part. This is not connected. There is no initial catalog defined. So what it will do is, if I use this connection in the task called analysis service processing task, then it will take the default database that is available. That is the first database available in the solution. SAS server. That is not the exact requirement I'm looking for. I want to process the cube with the name practical cube file. So I'm renaming it process cube solution, and in settings I'm gonna create a new connection by pointing to the exact database that I am looking for, that I'm interested to process. Now this is the cube and test connection. Test connection is succeeded, so fine. I'm clicking on OK. The source connection is set to localhost, the server name, and the practice cube 5 is the name of the solution. Now I have to add the objects that need to be processed. If I click on add, it will open all the cubes. There is only one cube present, under that only one measure group present. Okay, under that only one partition present. If you are familiar with SSIS cube concept, then it will be easy for you to understand. If you don't know anything about SSIS, then better to have a look at SSIS 2 before looking into this particular task. And it has only one dimension. You can process any one thing that you want. You can process this partition and this measure, this dimension, or this measure group alone, or this complete cube, or the complete solution. As this is newly created solution, I prefer to go with complete process of the solution. I selected it. Now click on OK. The properties are set. There is no other property to set except the settings part. Except the connection settings. This is the only property that is available for process. Analysis service processing task. Now let me execute and see whether it will process successfully or not. It is processing. It is going to take some time. So this is normally, whenever you are creating a cube and whenever you are processing a cube, I'm not sure that whether people use these analysis services execute DDL task or not, but processing cube task is used very often in real-time projects. Why? Because they have cubes deployed in the server and they want to process it by scheduling weekly or monthly or once in 15 days, something like that. Whenever you get the data, fresh data, you need to process the cube. So what people will prefer to do is they'll create an SSIS package with the task processing analysis service cube, and they will schedule it in SQL Server agent jobs, which will be triggered based on the schedules provided in the job. Now this is successful, and let me go to the database and see whether it is really processed successfully or not. Now to confirm the same, go select the cube and click on new query. If it opens the cube structure, then that means it is processed successfully. Now I can see the structure. You can see the measure group, you can see the dimension it processed. So the cube is processed successfully. And if you want to double check, just write a simple select statement to confirm that. I want to select measures on columns, and I want to see English product name on rows from the cube that I processed. This is the cube I processed. Data is coming fine, so everything went fine. So this is how we can process the cube. What if I want to create a new cube and process it at the same time? That means the cube needs to be created. Okay, that means I'm enabling it. Using these tasks, the cube needs to be created, and using these tasks, the cube needs to be processed. So in that case, how can I do? If I can create it easily, without doubt, I can easily create it. For example, let me demonstrate the same. Before going to that, let me delete it. Why? Because I have to change the cube name in the text file if I don't delete it. Or if I execute it without changing anything, it will throw an error saying that practical cube 5 already exists in the server. So that is why I am deleting it. Or the other way is editing the cube name here to 6 or 7. Instead of doing this, I deleted the cube as it doesn't make much difference. Now the cube will be created. Here the settings are set. Okay. Imagine this is the first time I'm creating and I don't have a connection set here. Okay. Now if I try to set the connection, This is no more. This is no more available. Now I'm trying to set the connection here. So now the cube is not available. It will be created using the first task, that is execute analysis service execute DDL task. Now how can I process it? The cube is not available. I cannot point to that cube. So what I can do here is I can point to any one cube that is available here. Okay, and the expressions page, I can pass the value then at the time of runtime. So it's the name. Before going to that, let me create a variable which holds the cube name. That is, I'm taking a new variable, cube name. I'm defining it as string and giving the cube name as practical cube 5. Okay, this is the cube name that it will take at the time of execution part. Now it is showing some error, and that error is the connection localhost cube 5 is not found. This error is thrown by connections. So, but we are not using that connection. Let me remove it here, and let me go for new connection string that is pointing to practical cube or any other cube. Let's say MDX test connection. It is succeeded. Click on OK. This is set. This is fine. And now I'm clicking on OK. Okay, I have to select the objects. MDX. This is how you can provide the objects. Or for making it better, I mean easy, what I'm gonna do here is, okay, fine. I set this. Now the cube practical cube 5 will be created using this analysis services DDL task, and using this one is gonna process MDX task. If you want to provide anything at the runtime, so in that case you can make use of these properties. You can go for the connection name, and you can change. You can go for the name of the cube. Okay, you have to set these two properties. The connection name should be changed to the new one, whatever the new value. I mean that is the cube that I'm gonna create, and here the name needs to be changed to the new one. So this is how you can change the properties at runtime and execute the cube that you are interested in. And if I execute this one now, it will process, it will create a new cube called practical cube 5, and it will execute MDX cube. If I change the variables, I have to create one more variable. Let me do that now. Now for processing this practical cube 5, what you have to do is you have to define a variable with the connection string, proper connection string, and then the cube name which you have to provide. And after taking the variable name and the connection string, pass it to the expressions here, and then try executing the same. It will take the runtime value, whatever the connection string you are passing there in the variable, and then it will execute based on the runtime value you have provided. Okay. Now these two tasks, generally the queue will be created and will be deployed. So you don't need to use this analysis service execute DDL task that frequently. You don't use that very frequently, but the thing that you're gonna use is analysis services processing task. A simple example is I deployed it. In my last project I deployed a cube. In my last assignment I deployed a cube in production server, and I need to process it on every Wednesday. Why? Because I get fresh data on every Tuesday night, so I have to process the cube on every Wednesday. So what we implemented was we have defined a simple package with the process task, and schedule the package from SQL Server agent job. So every Wednesday early in the morning 12 o'clock, so the job will be triggered and the queue will be processed. So this is how these analysis services, execute detailed task and analysis service processing tasks are useful. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to disable this part. Sorry, by mistake I clicked this edit. So I'm going to disable this part, and let me show you one more property that is important in this one. That is under DDL there is one more type, that is source type, that is variable. So you can pass the complete DDL statement in a variable, but this is not a suggestible one. Why? Because you cannot provide such a big queries in a variable definition by defining a variable in SSIS package. So better to go with either direct input or file connection. With my experience, this is my suggestion. Okay. Now this is about analysis services related task, a useful one to remember. Now let's go to the next task, that is bulk insert. So bulk insert is generally used to insert the data from a file to a database table. Let's say I think we copied some data into a file as part of that import and export wizard session. Let me see whether it is still available here in the desktop. Temp test is not the file, I guess. It is loading. Let me see whether it is the table. If not, then we can push the data again. It is not going to take much time. So this bulk insert task will be useful to move the data from a file, from any text file or CSV file, to a database table. You are going to insert the bulk data, or when the volume is huge. When the data volume is huge, then this is the best option to go with. It is taking time. The file is pretty big, it seems. So what I will do here is I'll connect to SQL Server and I'll push some data to a file, and then I will make use of the same data. I'm connecting to SQL Server. Yeah, we have data here. So we have product key, order key, due date key, and so on. This data belongs to fact internet sales table of AdventureWorks database. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create one more table with the name with similar structure as fact internet sales. I don't want to disturb the existing table, that's why I'll create a new one. This is the fact internet sales definition. I'm scripting the table as create to new window. So the create query is copying. It is copied. Now I'm giving a name called test. And at the end, I don't want these all constraints. I'm gonna remove all the constraints that are on this particular table. And let me execute this. So the table is created, and you can see there will be no data in it. Select start from fact internet sales underscore test. It is empty. Now I'm going to use bulk insert task to move the data from the file temp test that is available in the desktop, which is having the data of fact internet sales, and I will move it into a fresh table, freshly created table. Fact data load is the name I'm giving, and connection string. Under connection you have two, one is source and another one is destination. Okay, the source will be file always. You have to create a new connection to the file by selecting the existing file option here. Go to the select the temp text file. It is in desktop. I've selected that, and the source connection is set. Now we have to set the destination. Destination connection is in AdventureWorks DW. It is already available. If it is not available and if it is something like this, then go to new, provide the server name. In my case, it is localhost, and select the database name, AdventureWorks DW. Test the connection if you wish to. Then click on OK. Now the source connection is set. Now the next part what I have to do is I have to select the table name where I have the to which I have to push the data. Fact internet sales underscore temp is the table name. Let me drag this to left so that I will get more space to see. This is the table name, fact internet sales underscore test. Okay, and format, so leave it fine, and row delimiter, how the rows are delimited. I mean whether every row is delimited with a new line or whether every row is delimited with a semicolon or something like that. In our case, every row is delimited with a new line. That means for every row a new line will be taken. Every row will be started from a new line. Okay, now this is the one. And column delimiter, I have to see what the column delimiter is. I have not seen it, I have not observed it, so better let me go and see that what is the column delimiter. Temp test, let me open it. So this file has huge volume of data, that's why it is taking time. The size of the file is around 46 MB. So okay, now you can see the file is open and the row delimiter, row delimiter is fresh line. You can see every row is in a new line and the column delimiter is a tab. So I have to go here, select the tab, and the tab is selected. Now go to the options. Here you have a couple of options which you need to be. What is the code page, whether it is a raw, OEM, or how you want to convert the data, whether you want to convert the data or whether the file is in native code like Turkish and so on, or ANSI and so on. So for our case, which is a raw file, so select that, and data type is character code. It is not a native code or wide character or wide native code, so it is a character code. So select it. And batch size is a very important option, and you have to know about this. Why? Because this one will tell when it has to commit. For example, if I have 1 lakh records, if I set it to 0 as batch size, what it will do is it will read all the 1 lakh records and it will push into the destination, and then it will commit, one time commit. So if anything goes wrong in the middle, then it will go back. Everything will be rolled back. So this one will be very useful whenever you are moving some files around, file size in GB, or the rows of some millions or billions of records. For example, if you have 2 crores of records and if you set the file batch size as 1 lakh or 2 lakh, so for every that many number of records it will commit, and it will continue from there. First it will read 2 lakh records, it will commit the data, and then it will read the next 2 lakh records, it will commit. So it will be useful whenever you are working on huge high volume of data. And the last row, it will specify what's the last row to be read. If you set it to 0, it will read it till the end, or else if you specify, it will ignore the specified number of records from the bottom and it will read the remaining part. And first row, it will specify like what is the first row. If you set it to 1, it will start from the first row, that is including the columns. Even the product key will be read if you set it to 1. If you set it to 2, it will start from the second record, that is the first row of the data part, excluding the columns. And check constraint, you have a couple of options here, whether you want to check the constraints whenever you are loading the data. Constraint means like default constraint, primary key constraint, foreign key constraint. It is always good to have this option checked. Why? Because there will be constraints defined on tables for securing the data or for providing the data from junk inserts. So better to check this option and keep nulls. If there are 10 columns in the database and if you provide only data for 5 columns in the file, then the remaining columns will be placed with nulls if you check the keep nulls option. And enable identity insert if there is any column that is defined as identity in your table. Okay, and identity columns generally it won't take value from outside. You can it will automatically generate it. So if you check this option, it will allow it, the server will provide you an power to pass the value for the identity column. So this is also a useful one. And table lock, if you want to lock the table until you insert the data, you can check this option. And 5 triggers if there is any trigger defined. For example, on insert of a record, a trigger is defined. So what will happen is whenever you are executing this bulk insert task, it won't fire the triggers. By default, it disables the triggers. It won't fire any trigger. So if you specify this part, then only it will fire the trigger. Imagine 1 lakh records are inserting per second, and for every insert, a trigger has to be fired. So that same trigger has to be inserted 1 lakh times in a second or in a couple of seconds. So that's why by default it will be disabled. And if you want the triggers to be fired, then you can check this option, but the performance will be go down. So I've set these options. And sorted data. If you want to sort the data before loading, like for example, if you want to sort the data based on order, date, and then load the data, you can specify the column name here like this. Okay. And once the data is loaded, then that doesn't mean it will be sorted. While loading, it will sort and load. After loading, it will remain the same, order by the first column or second column. And max errors, this one will tell how many errors are allowed. For example, if you have 10 errors in your file, and if you set it to 5, it will see up to 5, and after when it encounters the 6th error, it will throw an error saying the maximum errors are crossed. If you set it to 0, if you get any one error, then it will be, the task will be failed. So let me click on OK and execute the same now. Let's see whether the data will be loaded into the destination table or not. It is going, the process is going on. There are a lot of records it seems. So it may take some time. Yeah, it is done. All the records are loaded it seems. And let's see now by executing the table. Now I executed the same table and you can see it is still executing. It has taken more than 7 seconds. That means a huge amount of data is available in the database table. So it has 4,83,184 records. That is the count of the records. And as I check this option, check nulls, not check nulls, it is check constraints. If any primary key constraint is defined, and when I try to insert the same data again, it will throw error. But I don't have any such kind of constraints defined in my table. So if I execute it again, it is not going to happen. It is not going to fail. Why? Because there is no constraints defined in the table. Now let's see the count of star. Instead of reading all the data, let me simply see the count. So it has become 9,66,368 records. So this is how you can use the bulk insert task to load the data from a file to a table. And in fact, even the data flow task, using data flow task, you can achieve the same, but you can achieve even more functionality. I mean, you can add more functionality while moving the data. Like you can transform the data, you can make changes to the data, or you can order the data, you can filter the data. You can do so many things using data flow task. The next one we're going to discuss. But why we need this bulk insert task? There is one advantage. Whenever you are loading high volumes of data, generally people don't want to transform it whenever they are loading high volumes of data. Instead of that, what they will do is they will load high volume of data first as is, and then they will apply the changes. So in that cases, you can go with bulk insert task. And one thing to remember regarding the bulk insert task is it won't create the destination tables just like import and export wizard. If you remember, in import and export wizard, if the destination table is not available, it will create automatically. It will create at the time of runtime. This is not the case in um, bulk insert task. You have to create the table first. The table structure should be available, and once it is available, you have to select the table name in the connection here, destination table name. So these are the things to be remembered as part of the bulk insert task. And that one more advantage is you can disable the triggers which may lead to performance issues, and you can apply table lock, you can enable identity insert, and so on. These are all the advantages of using bulk insert task. Okay, now let's see the data flow task. It is very similar to bulk insert task, but it is far advanced than bulk insert task. Bulk insert task can only move the data from a text file to a database table, but using data flow task, you can play like anything. Data flow task deals with ETL. The ETL alias name is data flow task. Extraction, transformation, and load. You can extract the data from any source. You can transform the data into any format, and you can load the data into any destination. Okay, let's see the basic. One simple example of a data flow task here, and then we will continue with the other control flow task, and finally we will revisit this data flow task to see all the transformations. Here we are not going to play much with the data flow task. We are going to see the basics and how the data will be moved from a source to destination, and we will go through the remaining control flow task, and we will revisit data flow task which needs lot of time, time to be spent on it. We have to spend a good amount of time on data flow task, as SSIS, heart of SSIS packages is data flow task. So a data flow task will have a separate tab. Okay, you can see here, and you can select whatever the data flow task, if you have, for which you want to add the functionality. For example, if I have more than one data flow task in my application, in my package, then you can select to which data flow task you want to add the functionality. Okay, now let me add that functionality for the data flow task 1. My intention is to move the data from a OLEDB data source, that is my SQL Server database, to a destination, that is flat file system, flat file destination. First, let me set the source. So this data flow task will have three major parts. One is sources, one is another one is transformations. The first one is sources, you can see on the top, and the second one is transformations, and the third one is destinations. So the source will specify from where you are going to get the data, and the transformations will be helpful to transform the data while moving from source to destination, and destinations will tell to which destination you want to push the data. Now let me define the source. I'm going to define a simple data flow task, and when we revisit it, we're going to use all the transformations. Let's say I'm setting the data AdventureWorks DW, and I'm selecting the table. The table name is DIN product. This is what I want to move from source to destination. I can specify the columns which I want to move. I don't want all the columns to be moved. I don't want alternate key. I don't want subcategory key. I don't want all these things. I don't want Spanish name. I don't want English name, French name. I don't want safety stock something. Days to manufacturer, product line, dealer's price, class, style, model, large photo I don't want, French description I don't want, Chinese description I don't want. I don't want all these things. Start date and end date. So I selected some columns which needs to be moved from source to destination. Now the source is set. What I have to do is I have to select the destination and give the properties of the destination. I'm going to create a file. Let's say what kind of file you want to create, delimited or fixed width, or fixed width with and with row delimiters, ragged, right? So let me go with delimiter first. We're gonna see everything in coming sessions. Okay. It is processing, and now you can see you can provide some name, file connection manager, and provide the file here. I'm taking a new file. Let me go with prod data. Okay, I've typed a new file name and header row delimiter skippers, and you have to check this option if you want to have column names on top of on the first line of the file. Now go to the columns. These are all the columns available, or these are all the columns I have selected in the source, and this is the row delimiter in new line. This is fine. And column delimiter, let me go with vertical bar, which I like. Right? Under advanced, you can set some column properties. Leave it for now, and I've selected it. Now once the connection manager is set, the next thing you have to do is mapping. So this mapping, and this is the destination column name, what it is going to create in new text file. So everything is mapped properly. Now click on OK and execute the package now. So it read 606 records from the source and it successfully pushed to the destination. And if you see, this data flow task 1 is also successful, which is not having any functionality. Okay, it is not mandatory that you need to have functionality, but having empty data flow task doesn't make any sense. Now this is the prod data file which I asked the server to create. It is created as per the requirements are given. You can see this is the columns delimited with vertical bar, and this is the first row, second row, third row, and so on. 606 products are there, and everything is moved to the destination. You can see the last record product ID is 606. So this is how we can move the data from one source to destination, and while moving you can play with the data. You can transform it. You can transform the data, and you can before loading into the destination. So that is why data flow task is more powerful, more 99.99% or even 100% powerful than bulk insert task. Bulk insert task has a specified functionality. It doesn't do all the work that a data flow task will do. This data flow task is alias to the ETL part, extraction, transformation, and load, which needs separate attention, and we are going to discuss about it. We are going to revisit it again once we discuss about the remaining task of the control flow. Now we discussed up to here. Now let's jump into we discussed about script task, right, in last session. So let me jump back to the script task. We're going to use it a lot in this session. So in the script task, my intention is a simple one. Looping. I'm going to add a looping part, and let's see how to loop through the how to implement for loop in a script. So I'm going to the main function, which is the starting point of this. I'm defining a for loop. If you are good in .NET, it will be easy for you to understand this. If you are not good in .NET, spend some time on .NET. For int I is equal to 0, that means I'm initializing the integer value variable I to 0. I less than or equal to 25, let's say, and I plus plus, this is the increment. What I'm going to do here is I'm not going to do much except showing the same in popup. Message box dot show. Here I want to display I am a trainer. This is the message I want to display in the pop-up box 25 times. I'm asking, I've provided a logic to loop it through 25 times and type the same, and you need to end it with a semicolon. Now once the functionality is written in the script task, you have to build it. Once the build is successful, then only it will be applied. For example, now the build is succeeded. Let me close this. Click on OK. Now if I execute this, let's see how the script task works, whether it is going to show it 25 times. I'm a trainer 2, and you can see it here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It is taking time to open. Let me minimize it. You can see it here, and so on. It looped through 25 times, and 25 times the message box is showed, and the script task is completed now. How to show the value in a variable that is present in a variable? The way is select the variable here under read only variables, and let's say the country name. I've selected country name under read only variables. Remember, I selected in read only variables. Once I selected any variable here, then I can I can read the data of the variable in my script task. I'm a trainer and concatenating. After this, I'm writing something. I belongs to country, and I'm concatenating variable country name. So DTS dot variables collection. In that one, the variable I am looking for is country. Dot value dot to string. That means it will convert to string and it will concatenate to the existing string. The output will be like this. I am a trainer. I belongs to country. Whatever the country name that is specified in the variable. So now I have to build it. The build succeeded, and execute it. So I'm a trainer. I belongs to country India. India is the variable name that I passed to the variable country. Variable value I need to say. And it looped through 26 times. It started with 0 and it ends with equal, less than or equal to 25, right? So it looped to 26 times. So this is how you can pass a variable value to your script task. And what if you want to edit the value of the script variable? Then you have to specify the variable name which you want to edit in read write variables. For example, the cube name, if you want to edit it from practical cube 5 to something else, then I have to pass it in read write variables. I should be able to write the data back to the variable. I write a new value to the variable name. So this is the difference between read only variables and read write variables, which we are going to use in next task that we are going to discuss. Now, why I explained about the script task? Why? Because we are going to discuss about the execute package task. So what this execute package task will do? Execute package task is useful to call the child packages. Let's say you want to move, you have to move the data from 1000 tables to 1000 tables in the destination. 1000 tables from source to 1000 tables in the destination. So that means you are going to have 1000 or something close to that number of data flow tasks. Each data flow task will handle one data load, right? That means one source table to one destination table. So that many number of tasks in one package will be always heavy. And if you want to categorize the functionality, and if you want to maintain the package in a better way, so what people will do is they will split the packages and they will create child packages. For example, let's say this is the package, and I will add one more package, and in the first package I will add some functionality related to loading the master tables or the tables that belongs to a particular entity. And in the second package I will add the functionality of the another entity related tables. So this is in this way it will be easy to maintain and easy to debug the issues if I encounter any issue. Now let me show you an example. This package will loop through and show 25 number of times. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make it 2 to 3 times. Why? Because I don't want to execute it again and again. I mean, I don't want to show the message 25 times, but my intention here is to show the functionality of execute package task. So that's why I'm not concentrating on the script task part. So I've given once the script task is done, it has to go to the execute package task. So for going to here, I have to configure the child package details. First thing, where the package is present, whether it is available in the SQL server or in the file system. SQL server means whether it is deployed to the SQL server. You can deploy the packages into SQL server. File system is nothing but your folder or drive where the package is present. For example, where I am storing these packages, I think it will be in documents, Visual Studio 2008. Under that projects, under that you can see the package, the project name is SSIS project. Under this you can see the packages, package and package 1. This is the fresh package I created, package 1 with the name package 1, and package is the existing one. So if it is SQL server, you have to give the SQL server connection here, or if it is file system, it will ask you to point to the particular file where the package is present. So let me go to that. Here I'm gonna give the same path where the package is present. This is the package, and I'm selecting the package. And if there is any password set, you have to provide it here. And this is important process. I mean, there is no password set, that is fine, leave it. And the execute out of process, if you set it to false, then each package will be if you set it to false, then both the packages will be run in the as the same process, and the same memory allocation will be done. If you set the out of process to true, the first package, the package where we are configuring all this stuff, this package will be executed as one process, and once the child is triggered, the child will be executed as separate process. So if you want to execute it as a single process and single memory allocation, then go with the option false for execute out of process property. Now I configured it. Now what will happen? It has to call the child package whenever it reaches the point, it reaches the task execute package task. So what I'm gonna give here is call package 1. Okay, this task name is call package 1. So that means it is going to call the package 1. And to show whether the package is called or not, I am dragging a execute process task. What execute process task will do? Execute process task will execute or will trigger all executable fields. You can provide any executable things like notepad or calculator or WinZip or WinRAR, or generally people use WinRAR or WinZip to unzip all the files that received from the client, okay, and loop through all the files to load into the destination. This is the general process in projects. So you can use this task to unzip the path, or you can zip the files and move it to archive folder and so on. Let me show you, let me tell you a simple thing before going further. So client will give everything in a zip folder. Let's say this is the files given by client. So what we will do is we will unzip it and store it into a location. This is the unzipped files. Once the unzip is done, we will move the files, we will move the data into the respective tables. Once it is done, you will zip the files and move it to the folder called archive folder, where you will maintain all the historical files. This is called archive folder. So you need this task to unzip it here, and you need this task to zip it here. So this is the source, and moving the source to the destination using data flow tasks here and some other control flow tasks, and here you will zip everything and push it into the archive folder where you will be maintaining all the historical files. These files are useful whenever you are gonna whenever you encounter a problem. For example, saying in October 25th data, the values are not matching. So what you will do is you will go to the archive folder, get the 25th data files, and check whether the data that you received is the same what you are showing in the application. So this is how you will confirm whether the error is at your end or the client end. Okay. Now I'm going to show a simple example here for this. I'm going to open notepad.exe whenever I execute this part. Open notepad is the name I'm giving for this. Now my intention is to see the package part, whether the package is going to call the child package or not. So it is going to show 3 times, and when it triggered the child package, and the child package task is executed and the notepad is open. This is as simple as this. Now this is successful. Once the child package is successful, then only this task will be successful. If there is any error in the child package, then this will error out. Now this is fine. Calling the child package is fine. And now let's see how to pass the variable values that are required. The parent variable values. Most of the cases you need to pass the parent variable values to the child. For example, you have a table where you will get data country wise. For example, Monday you will get country from data related to India country sales, Tuesday Pakistan, Wednesday Sri Lanka, and so on. So you need to pass a variable saying that where country is equal to India on Monday, where country is equal to Pakistan on Tuesday, and where country is equal to Bangladesh on Wednesday, Sri Lanka on Thursday, something like that. So if you are calling a child package, you need to pass the variable to the child package. The parent package variable should be able to access that one in the child package. Let's see how to do that. This is my child package. Open the notepad, let it be there, and I'm taking a script task. Okay. Now in the script task, you won't find that parent variables. Okay. But what you can do is you can give the variable name and edit the script package. I'm not able to see the variable name, but still I can give the variable name. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show the message box whether it is coming correctly or not. dts.variables of country from the parent package .value.toString. Okay. Now a simple script task is done, which shows the variable value whatever is present in the parent package. Now let's see whether it is gonna execute. Let me disable this. I don't need this anymore. And let me go to the parent package and execute it. The first one, it will trigger this one 3 times, and then it has come here, and the package message box is open and it is showing country. So even though it is not showing here in the variable list, you can directly access it by providing the country name, the variable name here, and then use it in the script task. Okay. Now this is fine. This is how you can read the variable data from a parent package. How can I write back the data and see the fresh data in the fresh variable value in the parent package? That means sometimes you need to write a value to the variable that is defined in the parent package. In that case, what you have to do is the first step, you have to move this variable name from country to from read-only variables to read-write variables. That means I'm trying to write data for that. So here in the functionality, this is how I'm showing the variable. Now I will write back the data to this variable. This value is equal to, I'm giving Pakistan. or let's say United States. I love Pakistan. I've given United States just like that. There is no intention behind it. So once it is written, then let me execute the same message box to see whether the latest variable, the variable value is changed to United States or not. Now I have to process and build it. Once the build is successful, then this is fine. I can check it here. This one will show me whether the new value is passed to the variable country or not. But I have to confirm the same in my child parent package. It may show the same value in the child package, but what I have to do to show the same, whether it is, I have to confirm whether it is showing the same in the parent package or not. So for that, what I'm going to do here is, I'm removing the link. From here I'm giving the link to this call package. That means first I'm going to call the package, and then after calling the package I'm going to call the script task. That means I have to show, it has to show new value in the script task now if it is modified properly. Now it called the child package. First it is showing India, and then it is showing United States. It has gone back to the master package, and it is at this level. You can see I'm a trainer, I belongs to country United States. You will get the same 3 times. So this is how you can read the data of a parent variable and write the data back to the parent variable. Now what if I want to define a new variable in the child package and assign the parent package variable value to the child package variable? Now first my intention is country child is the name I'm giving, and the data type is string. The initial value is blank. I want to pass this value, and let me select it in read write values. I should be able to read and I should be able to write, and country is the another one. Now I'm editing the script. So DTS dot values, I'll show this message twice saying that what is the first value that is available, country child, it should be blank initially, and then I'm assigning this value to, parent value to parent variable value to, child variable value. And then I'm trying to show the same. So first what it will do is it will show what is the country value, country variable value passed from the parent, then change the value to United States and show the same value United States, and child value what the value available, and assign the parent variable value to child variable value, and again show the child variable value. Let's see. This is succeeded. Let me close it, and now let me start the parent package. So it is showing India, it is showing United States, it is showing blank value. You can see the country child is blank, and then it is showing United States. The parent value is assigned to the child value. It went back and it is showing the value in the parent packages. Now this is how you can pass the values, or you can modify the variable values and so on. If you want to assign a value, parent package value to the child package value, this is one way of doing. Parent package variable value to child package variable value. Okay. The other way is you can create package configurations. So for that you have to right click on the child package configuration, enable it, and add a new configuration which shows here what is the one you want to add. I want to add parent package variable. Okay, and what is the variable? Country is the variable. Now select to which you want to tag it. I want to tag it to country child variable value property. So this value, child variable value, will be assigned to the assigned with parent value. Now I created a configuration for that. Now let me execute the parent package. The only difference, I mean, it will execute in the same way. The only difference you can see here is it will not show blank first time. It will show the parent package variable value, that is India. I mean, the inheriting from parent package variable value, and then United States, and this is how you can configure the parent package variable value to the child package variable. This is how you can provide the values. You can exchange the values between two packages, that is parent and child. Okay. Now we have seen couple of control flow tasks, and let's try to close this session by discussing couple of other tasks. Okay, the next important task is execute SQL task. This task is gonna take a lot of time. Why? Because there are so many options available in the execute SQL task. So let's cover this part. Before that, I'm going to the parent package. I'm disabling these two. I don't want to call child package now. Why? Because we have seen all the properties. We have seen all the properties that are present in the execute package task and execute process task. Now let me go to the execute SQL task. I'm giving precedence from here. Now this execute SQL task is used to run SQL statements and stored procedures. Okay. Now let's see how you can run a SQL statement and how you can run a stored procedure. I have a table here. The table name is fact internet sales underscore test. Okay. Let me take the table name and let's see how I can provide the execute SQL statements. Updating fact table is the task name, and timeout, you know, code page, this is the property default, specify which code page it is, and result set, it is not required. I will tell you when, we're going to discuss about this result set a lot. And the first and foremost thing we have to think about is the connection type. What is the connection type? That means where you want to update it. You can update it in Excel file, you can update statements for OLEDB, ODBC types, and so on. SQL Server, it's better to go for OLEDB and specify the connection here. The connection is AdventureWorks DW. That means AdventureWorks Data Warehouse DW database will be connected. Now the source type, you have three options. One is direct input, file connection, and variable. You have seen all these three options in another task, that is bulk insert or something. So direct input, you have seen this in analysis services execute DDL task. Now direct input, you are going to type the direct input, the query, and file connection, it is going to be a file connection. You are going to have the queries in the file connection and you are going to call that file, and the variable, you are going to have the queries in the variable and you are going to use that variable. Let me go to the direct input, and I'm not going to discuss about the remaining two. Why? Because you are having fair idea on the remaining two options. So here I'm writing an update statement. Update fact internet sales test set. Now what is the columns that are available? Let me see that. Top 10 start from the table name. Let me go with product key column. Set product key is equal to 1. My intention is to set product key is equal to 1 for all the records that are present in the execute SQL task. And bypass prepare, it will not prepare the query. If you set it to false, then you can pass the query and check it. Okay. If you set it to true, it will not, the bypass prepare property should be set to true to check to pass the query part. Now these parameters and result set will not come now. We will discuss it after seeing the execution of this query. Okay. Now if I click on execute query, it is updating the particular column whatever I've given for the table fact sales underscore test, and it is still doing the same job, as there are some 9 lakh records, so it is gonna take some time. Okay, it is executed, and let's see. Let's execute the same query and see whether the product key is updated with 1. Yes, it is. So this is how you can execute a simple update statements or delete statements or drop statements, whatever you want, using execute SQL task. What you have to do if you have more than one query to be executed, separate it with a semicolon or with a go statement. Okay. Now the first statement should update order date key. I'm giving some dummy values like 1, 2, 3, and it's just to give you an idea how you have to pass the queries. Once you get the idea, then you can play with it, right? And the next one is due date key. And I'll have one more, that is ship date key. This time these 3 queries should be executed, and before going to the, yeah, fine, that is fine. This option you can use it to build the query. Then build the query if you don't know the query, but always better if you know the queries, type it. Okay, like this. So I clicked on OK, click on execute. Now I'm executing multiple statements in one execute SQL task. Now let's see how to do that. How much time? It's gonna take more time. Why? Because there are a lot of records. So let me keep you on hold for some time. So this is processed, and let's see whether the data is updated or not. And you can see all the keys are updated with the value 1. So this is fine. And now let's see how to pass the value dynamically. See, hard coding 1 or 2 is not possible. Sometimes you need to pass the value through a variable. Okay, you cannot directly hard code it. So let's see how to do that. Now for doing the same, you have to use the special character, that is question mark. So how many question marks you have here? You have 3 question marks. Okay, that means this is the 0th parameter, this is the first, and this is the second. Now I have to map, we call it as parameters. Okay, the order date key will take 1 parameter, due date key will take 1 parameter, ship date key will take 1 parameter value. The parameter value means nothing but the one which we are passing dynamically or at the time of runtime. Now before going to that, let me create one more variable, and I'll name it as dates key. Okay, intensity is fine, and I'm giving the date key as 5. Okay, the value 5. Now my intention is to assign this dates key as the value to the integer, all these question marks whatever you have specified. So I have to make use of the parameter mapping. Parameter mapping will map the values by taking the value from variable to the question mark whatever I specified. First one, what is the variable name? It's the variable name is dates key. You can find it here, dates key. What is the parameter value? You have 3 parameters there. 3 question marks means 3 parameters. So the parameter number will start from 0. Okay, and the data type is, you can see you have to assign the data type to, what is the data type? It will be the numeric or large integer. So what you are doing here is, first you define a parameter by giving question mark. Question mark means it will take as a parameter. And now after that you define a variable which will pass value to the parameter. Now you are mapping these two. This is the variable name and this is the 0 means it will replace the first question mark with the value that is coming from the dates here. Okay, and in the same way I have to map for the remaining two. My wish is to pass the same value, that is dates key, and I'll take the same integer and the parameter value will become 1. It starts with 0 and if I have 5 question marks it ends at 4, 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is the date and I'm taking a large integer again and I'm giving 2. Now I map 3 parameter values and let's see by executing it whether it is gonna execute properly or not. I mean whether it is gonna replace the new value or not. Meanwhile, it is gonna take time. Let me execute this and see. It is executing, so it has some logs, so it is gonna take time until you cannot execute it until this is completed. It has some logs. It logged the data. Now it is completed. Let's see whether the value 5 is updated for these 3 or not. I map the same value for all the 3, so it is replaced with value 5. This is how you can pass the parameter values, that means dynamic values or values at runtime. Okay, this is the best option. I mean, execute SQL task has so many features. This is the most important one. Whenever you want to check whether the data is correct before loading or not. Before loading whether the data is correct or not. If it is not correct, then don't load. If it is correct, then proceed with the load. You can make all those kind of checks and that is what we're going to discuss now. This is fine. This is updating the data. Now, how can I retrieve the data? How can I get the data? So now my intention is to select top 1 English product name from dim product. So this is a valid SQL statement. I'm going to execute the same here and show you for proof. It is going to return adjustable race. I'm returning 1. So whenever you try to return the data from the SQL server instead of a DML statements, if you are using the select statements, in that case you have to use the result set. If the result set is none, that means you are not going to get anything. You are going to apply some DML statements. If the result set is single row, that means the result set is going to have only 1 row. Or if it is having more rows, it will take only 1 row. That is the first row. If your result set is having 100 records and if you select it as single row and the result set, then it will take the first row. If it is full result set, that means how many records you are going to get it will get everything. And if it is XML, it will return in the XML path. Now let's define the single row. Now the parameter mapping is no more required, right? There is no parameters. It is the direct select statement. Select top 1 from English product name from dim product table. Select top 1 English product name from dim product table. There is no parameters. So what I can do is I can remove these parameters. But I need to map the result. I need to map the result that I am getting. If I click on add, the first one will be 0, the first column value. What is the first column value? English product name. That will be 0 and I am assigning the same to user country. Now the country value should get the adjustable race. The first column is 0. To make you understand better, what I am doing here is I am going to have one more column here. Select top 1 English product name, comma, color. Okay, I'm getting 2. Now the result set is having 2 columns. One is 0th index and the second one is 1. So I have to give 1 here and I'm assigning it to some variable, let's say cube name. Now the cube name should have color and country should have English product name. Let me run the same query by adding color also here so that we can compare once the data is. Color is NA for that. Now this one is getting data. I want to confirm the same. So to confirm the same, I'm going to take a script task here. I'm copying and pasting the same script task so that the functionality will be same. I'm enabling it, and now I'm changing some functionality. User country is one parameter and user cube name, both are there, one in read write and one other one is read only. That is fine. And as long as it is available, I can make use of it. I can read the data. Okay, country is it instead of country, now the country will have English product name. Product name is this one, something. I'm gonna get something here, plus I'm giving some dots, its color is, and I'm gonna give the other details variable, that is cube name. I'm giving cube name here. So product name is details variable 1, that is English product name, whatever the name that is gonna assign. Its color is some color, not applicable or something, whatever it is gonna return. Now let me build the solution. Build is succeeded, and let me execute the same. So first it has to select and assign, and now see product name is adjustable race and its color is NA. So what it is doing is it is selecting the statement, selecting the query data, and as I specified it is single row. What it will do is it will be tagged to the two variables whatever I have given in result set. Okay, here I will show you. It will execute this query, it will check how many rows, it is single row, it will go to the mapping, and it will assign the first, how many columns you have. I have two columns, one is English product name, another one is color. It will assign the first value here and the second value here. Now, what if you want to apply parameter here, where color is equal to give question mark, just like the normal one, and map the parameter. How you have done for update statements, what is the variable which will have this data. Let's say this one will be available. I'm gonna pass the color value in execute item. Okay, this is a string, that is varchar, and the parameter is 0, that is the first question mark that I'm having. Now what I have to do, I have to pass color black or something here. And before executing that, let me check this, where color is equal to black. What it is going to return here, the same should be written there. Now it is returning LL something. Let me execute the same. So LL crank as it is showing here, and the color is black. So this is 100% perfect. This is working exactly as expected. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna give blue. Blue is sports 100, helmet blue. Now here I'm gonna pass the value blue. Now let me execute this. You can see the same here, right? So this is how the select statement works. You can retrieve the data and you can make use of the data in wherever you want. Okay. Now let's see the other part of it. That is, what if I don't want it? What if I want to get more than one record? That is, a result set is full result set. So I have to select this as full result set. And how I can map it. Now there are two columns. I can add map to a string here. So what I have to do here is I have to define a object variable. Full data is the name I'm giving, and the data type is object. I'm selecting an object data type which holds any kind of data, and it can hold the table. Okay, now let me show you how to assign the result set of this table to an object. Okay, So input parameters, you should not have any query here. Why? Because it will remain the same. We have the same where condition at the end, where color is equal to question mark. That is why this input parameter mapping, and the result set will be changed, and there will be only one table you are going to return, and the first table will be assigned to full data object data type. So 0 means the complete data you are going to get. You are going to get a result set. Full result set will treat as a one outcome, one output, or one result. So whenever it is a table or full data set, then you have to set index 0 and the object type of variable, that is full data. Now the data will be loaded, copied, the table data will be copied into full data variable whenever you execute this. Okay. How can I show the same in script task? I cannot show the same directly, just like by pointing to the object here. So in this case, what we will use is generally the for each loop. For each loop is a useful one. I'm gonna use this to explain how to show whether the data is coming fine or not. This is just a little bit of explanation on a for each loop, and we will revisit it again in next sessions. Now, after executing this part, I'm giving connection to for each loop, and I'm setting the properties for the for each loop. So whenever you want to loop through an object, then you have to go for ADO enumerator. For each ADO enumerator. Enumerator means it's a looping part. Okay. And here you have to specify the variable which you want to loop through. Okay. Select the rows in all the tables that are present in the particular variable. You don't need to concentrate much here. Why? Because we are going to revisit this part again. Okay. And then there comes the variable mappings. The variable country should get the index 0 part. Okay, that is the first column value, and the variable cube name should get index part of 1. So now I have a table. The table, each record will be looped through, and each record, whenever it loops through, let me draw an example here. This is your table which has 2 columns. When first it will loop through this record, that means it has 2, 1 and 2. Next it will loop through, next it will go to this record. Here you have 1, here you have second value. So this is how you can, variable mapping will help in mapping those values, those column values. So let me click on OK. Now this one will make sure it will loop, and the output will be assigned to these variables that I have given here. Country, the first column value, and the cube name, the second column value. Now let me copy this part or cut this part and paste it here. Okay, it has become pretty big. So let me decrease the size first. For that I need to move this one to somewhere here, and I am decreasing the size. Okay, now it looks better. So this one will read the data using this query, and it will make sure it is getting a result set, and it will, by taking the parameter value, whatever I pass in the execute something, and result set will be assigned to the object data type. Okay, and it will loop through all the records, and each values will be assigned to 2 variables. One is country and another one is cube name, and then it will be displayed. Now let's see, by removing top one and providing blue color, how many records are there? There are 28 records. So let's see the same, whether it executes or not. So it is showing something. First one is sports helmet blue. Let me minimize this so that you can see. You are getting the same value. You have same value couple of times. It is not. Now it is getting the next level set. Okay. Now classic West M. and class equals L, and so on. You will get all 28 records that are present in the database. Let me see. Now it is done. It has gone through all the 28 records. If I give black here, it is 133 records. It is gonna take a lot of time. So let me try something else. NA 254. It is even more. Let me see red. It should be very less. Red is also 63. Yellow. Let me check this. Yellow is 46. I think we can try with yellow if you want to try one more time. So I'm passing yellow color, and now I'm passing yellow color, and let me execute the same. It is gonna execute 48 number of times. So let's see the same. It is taking time to execute also. And close the remaining things. So I clicked on execute. Now you can see it showing the values. Now there is some problem in the system. Let me execute it again. Now you can see yellow color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. We'll get all the different values, product values. So that means it is reading the table data. It is getting the data and assigning to the object variable, and then looping through the each and every record and assigning the values to the variables we define in the for each loop path, and the same thing is showing in the message box which we declared in the script task. Now let me close this. I think I have to still 10 to 15 more. Yeah. So this is how you can make use of the this is how you can loop and get the data of it. You can get a table data and loop it to all the records, and you can use it wherever you want. If you select the third one, that is XML, the data will be converted and pushed in the form of XML file. So you can make use of this XML directly somewhere in the XML source in the data flow transformation, and you will come to know whenever we discuss about the XML file. Now let's see one more simple thing before closing the session, that is how you can call a stored procedure if it is returning multiple data. Let's take the same example. Okay, create procedure testing hash. I'm limiting the records. This time I don't want to have more records, top 10, let's say. Okay, I'm limiting it.